Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Look at this rogues gallery of people. Good evening and welcome to our Sunday evening Premier League show, TheTwenty. Richard Williams, Martin Horsfield, Bernard Deneen, and that little Scouse Energizer bunny, Cal Blundell. Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening. And it goes quiet again.
Well, let's start early in the week. Early on in the week, gentlemen, there were Premier League games all throughout the week this week. Brighton won, Chelsea won. Graham Potter, the future Ballon d'Or winning manager of Brazil and England and Italy all at the same time. They're going to share the World Cup three ways, and he's going to retire with more trophies than Ferguson, Mourinho and Pep Guardiola combined. Right, Martin?
Why Joe's come to me with Brighton? Stop doing it. Listen, Graham Potter will get a big job. I'm not even going into the Brighton stuff because it's unfair. You keep coming to me. Get somebody else's opinion on Graham Potter.
Right, Bernard. Why do you think Martin loves Graham Potter so much?
Well, I think Graham Potter's all right. I think for
not another one. Not a bloody another one.
I think he's fine. I think Everton. Why not Everton? Why can't he go to Everton? They're after an okay manager.
Martin said a big club, Bernard.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I did forget about that. No, well, he'll make him big. He'll make him big again. I mean, he's got potential. He's definitely got potential, Potter. That's for sure. I know another Potter who perhaps hasn't, but this Potter's definitely got potential to do really well. And I mean, we'll talk about Brighton's latest game as well, won't we? But they play some good stuff. Obviously, I don't think he's right for Everton at the moment. They need another Joe Royle, don't they? They need another Dogs of Water to get them out of the mess they're in. But I think Potter's all right for England manager. I'll have him as England manager, but I wouldn't fancy him as any other club manager at the moment.
Now let's talk specifically about the game, Brighton-Chelsea. Now Chelsea, obviously, the weekend before got beat by us 1-0. We all completely wrote out Chelsea's title credentials off that game, and then they followed it up with a 1-1 draw away at Brighton. Rich, is it just the stop-start season for Chelsea? This transitional maybe, or are they not at the races like they want to believe they are?
I think Chelsea's problem is they don't have a way of playing. They play every match as a one-off, and they're playing 1 minute with a big, massive number 9. The next minute they're playing, mobile forwards. The next minute they're playing 2 holding midfielders. The next minute they're playing no holding midfielders. They're playing 5 at the back. They're playing 4 at the back. And I think there's no way a team can really do well over 38 games when they don't have a way of playing and they don't have a consistency. So I think that's their problem. I think Brighton do play the same way every week, do play really consistently, and that's why they've got a point against Chelsea and arguably look better both times. They just need a striker because they're going to have drawn about 20 games at the end of this season. And
is it unfair of me to say, because that's a valid observation of Brighton, Brighton play the same way every single time, which at a top 10 club, that's a credit because they don't fear the opposition and they don't pander to the opposition that they play. Great. But an elite level manager, as Pep Guardiola is accused of being, sometimes to our detriment, does change philosophy, does change the way we play. Is that what separates Graham Potter now in his career from what Graham Potter should be in 10 years' time? Adaptable, I think, versatile.
But I think if you look at Liverpool and City, there can be. I don't think Liverpool change enough. I think Liverpool pretty much play the same way every week and try and play the same 11. Pep does change it a bit, but fundamentally it's still the same way of playing. There's not huge change. Chelsea just, do a 180. They're 2 totally different teams playing totally different styles. So I think Potter needs to learn some nuances to tweak his game to be the absolute best, but he doesn't need to, try and be a Thomas Tuchel.
Well, Martin Horsfield didn't want to be on the show anymore, apparently. Oh, that's great.
He'll be back.
Wonderful. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. A couple of small technical difficulties here while I just rearrange where you both are on the screen. Oh, goodness gracious me.
Bernard's been chopped in half.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I
that
feel
is
it after drinking this whiskey.
that is the folly of using Skype when I've begged to use other programs. Anyway, next game. Tottenham 3, Leicester 2. Obviously Tottenham are away, sorry. Leicester 2, Tottenham 3. Brendan Rodgers, another manager that Martin Horsfield loves. What's the story? Tottenham, are they trying to be a serious team or?
You don't know. You don't know. We come to you guys. I mean, again, that's what Rich was saying about Chelsea. There. I mean, Spurs. I mean, I know we joke about them, but I mean, you know, they can look absolutely excellent. Leicester are no shakes at the moment, let's be honest about it, but they look very, very good. But obviously, again, we'll talk about today's game later. But Tottenham are they just confuse me. They totally confuse me how they play. They just change from one week to the next. And Mr. Keane, obviously, is again scoring 1 or 2 goals, but there's just a lot missing at Tottenham, and I think Conte's doing an okay job, but I say they're must be frustrating to watch week in, week out.
Yeah, I thought Kane looked the best he's looked all season. Actually, he looked a bit fitter, a bit more interested from what I saw against Leicester.
Oh God! Please stop saying good things about Harry Kane.
Well, no,
stop it.
It's coming from a low base, but Leicester, you just don't know what Leicester's going to turn up every week. They've got some good players, but they seem to go very hot and cold. You know, they've got players who look fantastic one week and then they're absolutely trashed the next. I mean, I know they've had injuries, but they're a team capable of putting in an upset any week, but on average, they look a lot worse than they have done in recent seasons. But maybe that's injuries. Maybe I'm being unfair, but they just look to have lost their way a bit.
Yeah.
Oh well. Right, the other game of the Wednesday evening was Brentford 1, Manchester United 3. Manchester United, they cut the grass, by the way. I watched this game. Brentford cut the grass for Manchester United. So that probably means that Brentford thought they had the battering of them. Oh dear,
yeah.
Oh dear. Manchester United back again, best team in the world, right?
Looks like it.
I mean, I saw a few people say United thrashed Brentford, but I didn't watch the whole game, but I watched a bit of the first half, and I thought Brentford were unlucky not to be up by a goal or two, you know, early on. And then obviously, you know, United came on stronger later on, but it was, I don't think it's quite what I'd call a thrashing. I think I'd call it, you know.
Sorry, I was just waxing lyrical about the media's favourite team, Manchester United. Sorry, I was caught up on it a little bit. Sorry.
I think Brentford is like that. Brentford don't care, do they? They don't care who they're playing. They'll play the same game. And I think, as Rich was saying there, I thought the first half they were slightly the better team. But you know what United are United. At the end of the day, they'll if you don't take your chances, then you'd probably make you suffer. And unfortunately, that's what they did to poor Brentford.
Right, Friday's game: Watford 0, Norwich 3. Norwich. Last gasp title charge. What's going on? They beat all the small teams, do Norwich?
Yeah, no, it's that result surprised me, I must admit. I mean, Watford seemed capable of losing to anyone, but you know, it just shows you how bad Manchester United are, because I think Watford have lost their, you know, nine games of their last 10 at home by about an average of about 3 goals, and I think they put in a 4-1 thrashing of United in the middle of that. So I don't know. Watford for me just looks so fragile at the back. So, you know, I think me on FIFA could probably score against Watford. They're that bad.
Yeah. Oh, Ranieri looks a broken man to me when you see glimpses of him. He doesn't. I mean, they didn't play that badly. They had double the chances that Norwich had. But as you said, every time Norwich had an attack, you thought they were going to score, and obviously that just even tried to get it delayed with the floodlights, didn't they? I think we had an 11-minute delay when the floodlights went off, but that still didn't work for him. So
if Ranieri's a broken man, does that mean that he's going to Everton next?
Well, that just means he'll have a nice payoff and he'll go somewhere else, won't he, mate? That's all that happens with these managers.
Oh dear. Cal Blundell, Saturday, 22nd of January. Everton 0, Aston Villa 1. Liverpool's B team.
What can I say?
Liverpool of the Midlands.
It's just a typical Everton performance over the last 3-4 months. You know, even though Big Dunk was in charge, the spirit was there, but the quality just wasn't. And you know, we had 15 shots, 8 shots, so we didn't really struggle creating the chances. It was just we couldn't put it in the back of the net, and I'm worried, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to sound so negative, but I am worried because
just one on target, Cal, wasn't it? 15 shots, just one on target.
And realistically, that's the perfect game. If Everton were going to win a game in this terrible streak, it was Villa. You know, Big Dunk's back in charge. I was there. Goodison was absolutely bouncing. You know what I mean? It was electric, the atmosphere. But we just looked too slow. You know, the midfield just kept giving the ball away. Typical Everton. We give a 4-4-2. 4-4-2 is out of fashion in football now. It just doesn't work anymore.
Well, Cal,
and we played.
Cal, I want to talk about a wider topic relating to Everton Football Club with you while you're on here. And Rich and Bernard will have a lot of contribution to this too, because we've lived literally what you're going through in a way. But Everton have been a staple club in the Premier League since its inception in 1992. And I think in your entire club's history, you've been relegated 2 or 3 times or something like that. Very few times compared to a lot of teams, especially Manchester City. But Aston Villa, Leicester, and who was the other team that I wanted to use in the analogy? Leeds have all spent big portions outside of the Premier League. And all of them have come back and done more than Everton have done. Now, Leicester especially, obviously, with their Premier League win in 2015, 16, whatever it was. Aston Villa look to be returning to the heady heights of what they believe they should be. Even Leeds are a relative staple and relatively stable in the Premier League now. I'm not for a second suggesting that Everton need to get relegated to completely start from scratch. I'm not saying that, but all of these clubs have spent extended periods outside of the Premier League and come back and just been better than Everton. What is systemically wrong with Everton that has just caused you to just stagnate and slowly? It's like a slow death, really. Everton Football Club. And I even mean back to David Moyes' days. It was still a slow death even then. David Moyes papered over a lot of the cracks, but your club has been in a steady decline for 10, 15 years.
There's one man to blame for everything. Bill Kenwright. He's realistically, he should have left a long time ago. His ego is so huge. He just can't admit when he's got it wrong. And for me, there's a joke about Everton saying job for the boys, because Farhad Moshiri, our owner, he just gives jobs to Everton legends. It just isn't right where we are in the league. And look, £620 million spent in 6 years. We've got into Europe once in those 6 years. Our average league finish is 10th in those 6 years, which is just unacceptable for that kind of money spent. It really is. There's no vision, there's no ambition, there's no goal. You know, for the owners, when Manchester City took over, your owners made it very clear what the goal was, what the plan was. So did Newcastle's owners, to be fair, when they've took over. Our owners didn't. So, and we look at it now, 6 years on from the takeover. Can you just tell me one signing that's really worked out? They played well, but one signing that has been consistent for 6 years from that takeover, you just can't do it. And for me, Rob, it's the players like Iwobi, Andre Gomez, Fabian Delph. There's just so many players.
I understand that completely, but how have clubs that are a similar stature to Everton, Leicester, Leeds, Aston Villa, how have they all managed to have cataclysmic... I mean, Leeds in early 2000 nearly went completely out of business. They had to sell every single player. Leeds had put all of their money into the Champions League, failed completely, ended up getting relegated, and everyone got sold. Leicester, completely mid-table Championship club, won the Premier League. Aston Villa, in and out of the Premier League, up and down, not doing great, and now they've got Felipe Coutinho, for goodness sake. Tell an Aston Villa fan 5 or 6 years ago. Now, I'm not saying that Felipe Coutinho is the be-all and end-all of football, I'm certainly not, but tell an Aston Villa fan 5 or 6 years ago that Felipe Coutinho was going to be playing for him and they're charging for the top 6, top 4, they would have called me crazy. And Everton have had the stability of staying in the Premier League throughout all of that and done nothing with it. Rich?
I just don't know what the identity of what Everton are trying to do, how they're trying to play. David Moyes, when he was there, I always felt there was an identity at the club. We were going to go and play him. We were going to get kicked. They were going to defend really solidly. They were going to give us a hard time. And in some ways, you know, when we were less good than we are now, we were going to get bullied out of the points. And they did that, and they did it week in, week out, and they were consistent. Since Moyes left, I'm just not really sure what Everton's identity is on the pitch. I'm not sure how they're going to play. You know, they don't seem to play very exciting attacking football. They don't seem to play really solid defensive football. They just don't have an identity. And unlike, you know, I think that's true a bit like what I said about Chelsea, but unlike Chelsea, they don't have the world-class players all over the pitch who can deal with that, and they don't have a tactical manager who, you know, is smart in those big games. So I think Everton needs to decide what it is, what it wants to be, and find its soul again, because, you know, there's a club with, as you said, Rob, an immense history of success and a very long time in the Premier League.
Before we come on to Bernard, Rich, would a relegation help them find that identity?
I don't know. I mean, relegation goes two ways. Like, relegation can help you find your identity. And I remember actually my now wife telling me when we got relegated to Division 2 that it was going to be good for City. And it turned out it was. Very nearly was the worst thing that ever happened to us. But other clubs go down, and if they don't find their identity, they don't come back up. And then they start to slowly disappear. You know, I thought Sunderland, when they went down, they'd be back quickly, and they've just, you know, gone from one thing to another. So there's a chance Everton could go down and bounce back up and find it, but they could become a Sunderland, and it's too big a risk to take.
Bernard, have your say, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with Everton, I mean, it's interesting what Rich saying there about teams like Sunderland. If Everton went down in the current state they're in now, you would say that they're going to find it very, very hard to come back up, and they may even drop another division the way they're playing at the moment. They need to sort themselves out. Sunderland, and obviously, I think of Leeds, like you say, Leeds had to literally sell everyone off when they got relegated. As far as getting relegated and coming back is concerned, I mean, if you're in the Premier League, you're getting the money. You should be able to build from there. But and I think Cal said it himself. I mean, they're just not doing the right things. There seems to be no plan. They don't know what they're doing. Everyone used to be scared to death. Well, City fans, we used to be scared of going to Everton and not getting a result. It was always a difficult game. And say they've just lost that ability now at Goodison to frighten teams. And I've been thinking, we were saying off air, I think we'll find 3 teams worse than them. But especially if you look at the next 4 games, I mean, they've got Newcastle away, which is going to be interesting. They've got Leeds at home, which, you know, Leeds are going to have a go for that. Southampton away and City at home. So, I mean, you know, they could go the next 4 games and be lucky to get 1 or 2 points. And you know, they could be down then in the bottom 3. I don't think it's a good thing if Everton go down, not in the current state they are, because they need to sort themselves out. And Newcastle went down, I think they'd be okay because they've got some sort of plan. If Everton go down, I think they're knackered, mate, because I don't think they have a plan at the moment.
Okay, well, Big Morgan just said in the comments that relegation would potentially stop Everton's new stadium being built as well, and I think a lot of eggs are being put in that basket. Cal, I'll let you have a final say on Everton before we move on to the rest of the weekend's fixtures, mate.
just agree with what everyone said and what Bernard said spot on. With the wages we have players like Rondon, Gabam and Delph who have got a year left on their contract on over 100 grand a week. They're not going to get transfers to clubs where they're going to be paid less. They're going to stay at Everton. And the financial situation we're in, we couldn't last in the Championship with 7-8 players on 100 grand. We just couldn't. And I just don't agree that there's 3 better teams worse than us, because the next 5 games for us, I can't see us getting a point out of, to be honest. I just can't. I can't see that group of players keeping us up, because you said about Leicester, and I won't go on long about Leicester and about these clubs that have come up. They've come up with new owners, but these owners have had an ambition and a vision where they wanted this football club to be. And you look at Leeds, you look at Leicester, you look at Villa, they have great recruitment. The players they bring in are top players. You could argue all of Villa's signings that they've made over the last 2 windows with the Jack Grealish money could have easily got into some of the top 7, top 8 teams in the league. Can you name one Everton signing that could get in the top other than maybe James Rodriguez, that could get in the top 7 the last couple of years?
Not really, no. Apart from Luca Digne.
Yeah.
And Luca Digne is now Aston Villa, yeah. Okay, I just think that Everton will just about find survival, and it won't be in the next 5 games. I agree with you completely, Cal. But I think you'll just about somehow scrape it on the last day or something. It's going to be very, very tough pill to swallow this season for Everton fans. And it's not going to get any better next season, I don't see either. So, dark days. Brentford 1, Wolves 2. Gentlemen, who wants to go on this one?
Interesting game, guys, wasn't it? I mean, it was just as much fun off the pitch, wasn't there, as on it. 2 concussion substitutes, a drone delay. There you go. That was excitement for you. If someone had a shotgun, they could have took it out, couldn't they? That would have added to the entertainment if someone had a shotgun. A red card overturned and Thomas Frank sent off. And on the pitch, Brentford huffed and puffed and a bit like... Everton, they had 11 shots, 1 on target. They can't score for toffee, and Wolves just took advantage. But entertaining for the fans on and off the pitch. That one.
Do you think that the is it Thomas Frank, the Brentford manager? His comments recently have been quite enlightening, because he really does back his players, doesn't he? Really backs them. Really backs the football they play. But I think Brentford have lost 3 out of the last 4, 4 out of the last 4. And 3 of those have been at home, something like that.
4 out of the last 5 they've lost.
Yeah, and 3 of those have been at home. So, is this just Brentford now plateauing with that first season energy?
Yeah, I mean, they say teams get found out, don't they? And obviously, as you say, with Leeds, it lasted for most of the season, didn't it? But obviously, into this second season, they found it a struggle. And Brentford, unfortunately, it's not lasting a season, and they could easily get dragged back into that relegation battle.
There you go. Lovely joke from Chris Baker in the comments. Don't drone on about that one, Bernard. Rich?
I think Brentford could get dragged in, because I think the difference with Leeds is I think Leeds in that squad, players like Rafinha are real top quality players. I'm not sure Brentford quite have, the quality Leeds do. Though they are incredibly pragmatic, and with Brentford, I keep thinking, I probably thought the same in October, November, December. They're going back into the relegation battle, and then their spirit brings them another win. So the danger for them is if it becomes 7 losses in 8 and they lose that spirit, they will then be in free fall. And I don't think they've got the experience and quality to drag points out if they desperately need points at the end of the season. So I think they need to be clear of relegation with 5, 6, 7 games to go. And if they carry on the way they're going, and they keep losing to mid-table teams like Wolves and Man United, then it's gonna be a difficult season. And if anyone was going to get dragged in, I know Cal thinks Everton, and maybe Everton are already in the relegation battle. I think Leeds will be fine. Brentford's the sort of side I could see getting dragged in and losing 8 on the trot.
Yeah. Ali, don't ever make baseless accusations against our dear Richard like that. He is a Mancunian. He just happens to live in Sydney, Australia. He called you a Londoner, Rich. I apologise.
Yeah, I only lived in London for a couple of years, but maybe that's what you get when you match Aussie and Mancunian.
Yeah, it is a bit of a hybrid It's not mid-Atlantic, it's mid-Pacific, his accent. Anyway, right. Leeds 0, Newcastle 1. Talking about teams that really want to survive this season. Newcastle going away to Ellen Road, getting 3 points.
Impressive.
How many teams go to Ellen Roads and eke out a 1-0?
It was a huge result. I was, I've been fairly vocal that I think Newcastle were staying up. I thought they've spent quite well, and I thought they'd stay up. And I must admit, the other week I watched them against Watford, and I was starting to doubt. I was really starting to doubt, and then they've kind of come good with a really good result. And I think the Everton result next weekend for them will be huge. If they beat Everton, then I think they'll really start to get a bit of momentum going. But they do need to sign a centre-back. They need a leader at the back.
I want to talk now about the next 2 games of the Saturday. There's potential VAR meltdowns to be had. I wish Martin wouldn't use the channel's account while talking in the comments, because that could potentially log me out of OBS. You naughty Martin. Martin is absolutely having nightmare after nightmare today. Man United 1, and I will call them Man United. 1, West Ham United 0. Was he offside, Cavani?
It was close, mate. Wasn't it? I mean, I don't know. Since he stopped drawing the lines on a regular basis, I'm just totally confused now. Who is and who isn't?
Yeah.
Well, you can draw a line at any angle you want, can't you? And make it look straight.
It's just conjecture. It's just how it is. It's just. I just don't know. I give up on it. It's so close like that. I mean, it should always go in favour of the forward anyway. But it's United, so why should it? But there you go.
I think it's just also, I think as well, to talk about that game, I think Moyes has a little bit of a mind block when it comes to United. Ever since he's left United, he's never won there. And I don't know what it is for him. He just can't seem to beat United. But it does look like Ranić's got his philosophy starting to work now. They are getting these wins back. And for United...
Stop it, Cal. Don't dig yourself a tunnel, mate. Seriously. He's won a couple of bloody games. Philosophy my ass. Philosophy my ass.
For United, any type of win right now is just important because
any
they want to get into the top
right now
4.
is a philosophy. Is that what you're saying? Richard, please set the level straight. Philosophy. Cal, you're banned for 2 weeks.
I think they're a mid-table team who just got lucky at the end with a slightly dubious goal. I don't think they're probably going to get top 4. I'm not sure about finding a philosophy. Their only philosophy seems to be about how to pay dividends to Florida-based companies. No sign of it, and I think maybe 6th place for them this year. I just don't see anything for anyone to fear.
That's a brave call, Rich. They're in 4th.
The trouble is, Rich. I mean, I can see him getting top 4 just by default because West Ham, based on yesterday, aren't good enough to hold that position. And Arsenal and Tottenham, you can't rely on them to do anything. So by default, they're guaranteed 4th spot for me at least.
Yeah, Chelsea seem pretty desperate not to come. I mean, I know they had a good result this weekend, but they seem pretty desperate not to come top 4 as well.
No push from Arsenal. Arsenal, Tottenham, even only got battered today. And who's Aston Villa? There's a few teams that could still get the 4th. Let's not just default it to United.
Yeah, Villa maybe gave themselves a bit too big a shot, but if they were a little bit closer when they changed managers, they are getting good results and pushing up. But I think it's a big ask for them to pull back the points they lost early on.
Okay, well, let's go on to the second most controversial VAR decision of the weekend. And in my opinion, by the way, not in no means ways changed what the final outcome of the game should have been. Southampton 1, Manchester City 1. Laporte studs high into the thigh. Reckless, dangerous, but no, play on, thumbs up. And Kevin De Bruyne was on the white line, which is classed as the area, which means penalty. Obviously, just to clarify, by the way, the reason why VAR doesn't interrupt with free kicks is because that's what do they call it? Bollocks. Basically, anyway, VAR doesn't overrule the referee on free kicks because that's about what the referee's seen. The VAR only intervenes as a matter of fact, was it in the area, was it outside the area, blah blah blah. VAR deemed that it wasn't inside the area, therefore no drama play on. What do you two gentlemen think?
I think well, you've seen the photos that Laporte sent out after the game. I mean, you can practically see the stud still left in his leg. He's got an absolute.
He's got nicely waxed legs, hasn't he, guys? There's lack of hair on those legs. I don't know where those legs are from.
But we've had this before. We've had this with Otamendi. Otamendi had in the 17-18 documentary. Otamendi's got bullet holes in his legs. Sergio Aguero, was it Ashley Young at not Main Road at the Etihad? Sergio Aguero had a nailed-on penalty. Obviously, that was before VAR was introduced in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But Sergio Aguero's leg was in bits for months. And we do get Pablo Zabaleta, the only one that's ever been nailed on, really, for us, because the tackle yesterday was the same as Paul Scholes on Pablo Zabaleta in the FA Cup semi-final. And we just don't get him. I don't get it.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. It's an obvious red. I just don't really know what happens with refs. It does seem if it's 1 foot, they're a bit more lenient, and you have to be going in 2 feet to get sent off.
That 1 foot, Rich, was bloody 3 foot off the floor.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, there's no other way. That was an assault.
Well, he headbutted him, referee, but he was 2 inches off the ground. What's that got to do with anything?
It was an assault. I mean, he had, an absolute, a 2 or 3 inch gash cut out of his thigh by the stud. I mean, what can you say? You really can't.
It makes the title race a thing again, doesn't it?
On the penalty, I'm sure I could see the white line there as he's going down just behind the one of the 2 defenders who was fouling him. So, to me, it's a penalty. But but then in a way, things even out because I still can't really believe that they didn't get a penalty at the Etihad and that decision on Walker was reversed.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be honest. So,
absolutely, there you go. So it levels it out, I guess. Yeah. Martin seems to think that Darren England is a season ticker at Old Trafford. Is that true?
Yeah, that's because he's seen his Wikipedia account that said he had a United tattoo on his shoulder.
Right, okay. Next, so that's all of Saturday's fixtures. City have bottled the league. Liverpool are going to win. Congratulations. The trophy's on its way to Anfield. Arsenal 0, Burnley 0. The Emirates. I thought they were back. Are they not back?
Didn't last long, guys, did it? Didn't last long. Obviously, I don't know. Has anyone seen Alan Davis lately? I'm just wondering how he's getting on. I've not heard from him for a couple of weeks, so I was just thinking he might be having problems. But yeah, I think Pope, was it Pope the goalie for Burnley? Pope, is it Pope?
Yeah.
I think he had an excellent
shit on
game.
crosses.
And, so some bad misses and some excellent saves, and they should have really won it, but especially because Burnley haven't played for about 6 months. But no, it's very disappointing for Arsenal. They won the nearly beat City trophy, and they've not really done that much since, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games that goes like it is. Burnley seem to like going down to London this year because they pulled out a shot point against Chelsea as well, so they seem to be getting inspired going down to the capital.
They need a lot more threes than ones, though, Rich. Let's be honest. Cal,
I think Burnley are down.
Cal, you're back off. You're back off the sin bin punishment now for saying that Ragnarok had a philosopher. What do you think about Burnley? They're a team in close proximity to you, so
I think it's a tough one because Burnley are usually this is the point where they usually step up, isn't it, their season and get those 1-0 wins against the bigger teams, but it just doesn't seem to be working for them. They just keep either getting beat or scraping out those 0-0 draws, which it's going to get to a point where if they don't start winning games, then they're going to really be in serious trouble.
Do you not think they're stuffed? If Tarkowski does go to Newcastle, do you not think that they are stuffed?
If Tarkowski goes, there's not a chance they're staying up, in my opinion, because him and Ben Mee have formed such a brilliant partnership for Burnley. And I think if they lose, they're probably their vocal point in their back. They've already lost the vocal point, in my opinion, in Chris Wood, the goal scorer. So if they lose one of their main players and James Tarkowski, can you really see them staying up? That's two of their best players gone. And let's be real,
what are the other two guys? I mean, what is the logic? What is the understanding of getting rid of your best players in this position? What are they trying to do?
It's the fine lines of Burnley, though, isn't it? This is it with Burnley. Yeah. No budget FC.
Chris Wood had a clause where he could leave in that circumstance. So Newcastle were obviously alerted to it, and Burnley couldn't stop it because it was suicide at the money they got for him, which was a bargain for him anyway. But sell to a relegation rival,
something will come out in the wash,
they can hold on for a bigger amount.
The fact that Chris Wood's clause thing got found out about, something dodgy's gone on there, hasn't it? That's not above board. Those sort of things aren't public knowledge.
No, you assume an agent has gone to Newcastle or been asked by Newcastle, would you be interested in a move, and someone's made it clear. But I'm assuming that nothing was done completely untoward, or certainly not that could be pushed, because there's no way Burnley would have let that happen. If someone had done something, they could get them genuinely wrapped. But you're not supposed to talk to players before you've had permission from the club, and we all know that every single club in the Premier League is probably talking to 20 players at any point in time.
Okay, well, let's move on.
The way it goes.
Let's move on then to the next game of today. I didn't watch this game. I watched the other two games. Crystal Palace won, and the world champions, 6 times European champions, 19 times league champions, best team in the entire world, supported by all the best people in the world. Every celebrity loves them. The Queen's even a Liverpool fan. Maggie Thatcher loves them. She was a season ticket holder in the Cop.
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf would do anything for Liverpool, and it turns out he did do that as well. The best team in the world, 3, and Crystal Palace 1. I think we're done. I seriously think we should just deliver the trophy to Anfield now.
Yeah, I think it's what you expect. I mean, you look at Liverpool and they've got the 2 best fullbacks in the world, the best centre-back in the world, the best keeper, best holding midfielder. And probably the best player, although he's not available to them. But you've just got this team of, it's almost like what Real Madrid wanted to be 20 years ago. You get the best player in the world in every position, and then you actually form a team. And I think it's been tragic for Liverpool that they've had, one of the worst managers in the game, who's been given these best 11 players, and they haven't quite turned it up. But they were huge yesterday against Palace. I mean, Palace played us off the park, and Liverpool they had that Palace, the brilliance of Palace, which we couldn't cope with, thrown at them, and they managed to power in there. The world's best centre back with a great early goal, I think in the 7th minute, to really get them going, and they powered on through.
I thought it showed true class that Liverpool let Palace score at home just to give their fans something to cheer.
Yeah,
I think that was amazing. They really are the people's
club. That was
club.
Deliberate. That was obviously deliberate. I mean, it's hard to see Liverpool conceding another goal this season.
Liverpool only concede when they want to. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So City have basically got to win every game now, or it's second place.
I don't even think City will make top 4. Liverpool will take first, second, and third. They're that good. Bernard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can sense just a little bit of tongue-in-cheek stuff here, guys. I mean, even Alisson can make a total mess of it and start coming for a ball, and then pull off a pretty good save because the Palace player can't actually just chip a goalkeeper who's come out too far. It's but the thing with Liverpool is at least they look as though they've got sort of players who are quite handy in front of goal and can put the ball in the net. I mean, the whole difference yesterday for us was if we'd have scored early, we would have stuffed Southampton yesterday, let's be honest about it, but we didn't. We let them score and we didn't get going for like 40 minutes or something like that. But, I mean, all credit to Liverpool. They win the game in hand, the 6 points behind. They beat us at the Etihad, the 3 points behind. So, as you say, guys, it's pretty much all over.
I'm very worried. Yeah, absolutely nailed on. I mean, this is what is so good about Liverpool, though. They gave City that false hope, and they gave City that 11, 13 point lead, whatever it was. That's how classy Liverpool are. That's how classy they are. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if we could stand up, I would ask for a moment's silence and a minute's applause for Liverpool FC. Cal?
Crystal Palace had no one to blame but themselves, to be honest, because the amount of chances Liverpool were giving away, really. Joel Matip made 2 or 3 big errors, and they just couldn't put it in the back of the net. But to be fair, Palace, I think Vieira's doing a lot better than I think everyone expected him to be the first coach sacked. But he's seeming to put in a lovely way of playing. But it's just going to take time to adapt to that certain type of playing, and you can't play that kind of football against Liverpool or City. It worked against City, but usually you can't try and play that kind of attacking football against the big teams because you're going to get ripped apart. And I think Liverpool just had too much quality on the pitch, as much as I hate to say it. I think they just had the better players, and when you let a team like Liverpool control the ball, you're asking for it to go wrong.
Yeah, fair enough. Well done, Liverpool. Brilliant. Leicester 1, Brighton 1. You wanted to talk about this one, Bernard? Graham Potter again?
Yeah, I thought, to be honest with you, what impresses me, and I just thought if this guy had stayed fit all his career, it wouldn't have been a bad player, would he? He's not a bad player anyway, but he's injured half the time, or even more than half the time. Obviously, Welbeck's been the difference of Brighton. If they had Welbeck fit, they would certainly be further up that league, because obviously that's where they've fallen down, Brighton. As I said, I'm quite impressed with Potter, and I'm quite impressed with Brighton. They perhaps only have one method of playing, but if it works most of the time, fair enough. But Schmeichel played well for Leicester, and it could have easily been a Brighton victory, this one. Schmeichel pulled off 2 or 3 great saves. But but Welbeck, for me, he's the difference. Brighton has struggled for 2 or 3 seasons without someone putting the ball in the net on a regular basis, and it's such a shame that Welbeck isn't that guy. But
Harry Kane would be that guy.
He can do it.
You put Harry Kane into that Brighton team, and he's scoring 10-15 a season, mate.
Make a big difference. Yeah.
As Chris Baker just said there, Leicester versus Brighton. Brenda Rodgers versus Potter. It's the battle for the Etihad. Who takes the hot seat at City next? And it looks like they both want to share the responsibilities. Listen, Leicester City, they're so inconsistent at home, and Brighton are just very good. Like Bernard, I'm in complete agreement. You stick 50 million into that squad, and the Danny Ings. Am I wrong to say Danny Ings? Danny Ings at Brighton?
Fine for that sort of team. Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah. Well, I think it's true. I think if you say put a top striker like a Sergio Aguero type player in that Brighton team, they'd be right in there for 4th place at the minute. They really
is that
would.
The plan?
I mean, they have.
Are we going to loan this Alvarez kid, who is the next Aguero? Are we going to loan him to Brighton, Rich?
Well, that's the sort of player. If they had a decent striker who'd got them 15 goals this season, they would probably have turned 8 or 9 draws into wins, and you stick 18 points on them and they're right up in the mix. And I think from everything apart from getting the ball in the back of the net, they've been as good as anyone outside City and Liverpool. Honestly, they have, but they just can't score, and so they just draw so many games 0-0, 1-1. It's ridiculous. But my worry for them is that they'll start to lose players. Like, a lot of people are wanting Lamptey and Bissouma and things, and if they start to lose those players, it's difficult. Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's some truth in that. I think there's truth in that about City. I think we are a team that is more than the sum of the parts, and that's true at Brighton. I think you could take some of our players and put them in, the Chelsea team, and they wouldn't be half as good as they are for us because they've just really fit in the team. And I think that's a very good point, Rob. They will not necessarily leave Brighton and become better when they go to a bigger, in inverted commas, club. They may find that they're not part of a team with a system and everything else, because that's what Brighton are. They are a B-Tech city. They have a system, they have a way of playing, and the players are really learning it and living it.
Well, I think the exception to that, guys, is that a couple of those Brighton players are probably fit in City's team, a team of City's calibre.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference, depending who they go to. We nick two or three of them. I think Pep would fit them in nicely at our place.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't want to destroy what Brighton have got going. I think they should just be left in a bubble, let them carry on playing. Anyway, the
Cockneys, mate. The Cockneys, we don't mind. They're all Cockneys. It doesn't make any difference.
Anyone south of Stockport's a Cockney to you, Bernard. Right, anyway, Chelsea 2, Tottenham 0. Haroldinho Caninho, the worst striker in the Premier League, fails to score again. Chelsea are back.
He did score. He got called.
I watched this game and he can go sod himself. I don't give a toss. I think all of his goals should be stricken from the record, because I don't think you should get trophies for stats padding. And guess what? He's not getting any trophies, so it's great. Chelsea 2, Tottenham 0. I watched it. Very impressed by Chelsea, but the way I was impressed by Chelsea is different than in the way I'm impressed by Liverpool or Manchester City. I was impressed by Chelsea today because it felt like it was Chelsea playing against a team at about their level. When Chelsea play against Manchester City, they don't have the ball. But when they play against Tottenham, it's about their level, and they are just about better than Tottenham. They were dominant. They scored 2 very good goals. Dyer at one point was moaning at the referee about everything he could moan about. Harry Kane, to his credit, was trying very hard. He went on a couple of runs against Azpilicueta. How old's Azpilicueta? About 60, right? And Harry Kane looked like he was running in treacle when he was trying to take him on. So that should give you an indication as to Haroldinho Caninho's pace. That's all I've got to say about Chelsea and Tottenham, really. Chelsea were better. Very crap analysis, I know, but that's just the facts of the matter.
And they've been better than Tottenham about 3 times in the last few weeks, so it's no real change. Tottenham know Chelsea are better than them, and they both play like that.
I give credit to Kepa. I think Kepa's done a good job, guys, since he's come in for Mendy. I think he's not always been the greatest, has he? Let's be honest about it. He's a bit rubbish sometimes, but I think he's done okay since he's come back in.
The thing about Kepa, Bernard, and you'll remember this because you were at the game as well. Chelsea in the league, the Chelsea in the League Cup final when he refused to be substituted.
That was the best moment of the game.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. If they would have let Willy Caballero come on, they were winning the penalty shootout. That's Caballero's deal, yeah. But Kepa's been eternally tarnished by that brush, and I think his price tag as well. What was he? 70 million, 90 million, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, 70.
So he's a decent keeper. There's no disputing that, but when Mendy's back, he is still number 2. He's still second choice.
I just thought, considering he's just come in to do that, I think he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Right, and Cal Blundell abandoned us as well. So Martin abandoned ship and Cal abandoned ship. So it's just, we started off with 5 and we're down to 3. Any final thoughts on the Premier League this weekend, gentlemen? Because we are now going into the eternal darkness of a winter break, so make the most of it.
I think that probably the the Premier League will be probably quite happy with the last week. I mean, a little bit of life has been put back in the title race. If City had won, Liverpool had drawn, it would be done. So I'm still confident that we're not having a meltdown, that we're about to throw away the title like some people were calling last night. But at least there's some life in it. And I think a lot of life putting down the bottom. I think that's a huge result for Newcastle away. Norwich, who were dead and buried, have given themselves a chance. Even Burnley getting a really good point down at the Emirates. So I think it's been, and some interest for fourth place as well. So I think it's probably been a good week for the Premier League. It could have been better for us, but I think the stories are really panning out on an exciting relegation battle. And maybe Cal's right. Maybe Everton could get dragged in. Maybe
to add some numbers, Rich,
Brentford
let's add some numbers to the argument. Now, Burnley are currently in 20th place, played 18 games, 12 points. Everton are in 16th place, played 20 on 19 points, okay? Burnley are 7 points behind them with 2 games in hand. In fact, Burnley have got 4 games in hand over most of the league, if not 5 in some cases, you know. So Burnley, and as Cal did say before, and as I think we can all admit, this is usually the sort of time of year that Burnley do start eking out some squeaky bums and getting points. Yeah. Now, I just think, though, if they lose Tarkowski, I think it is another nail in the coffin that they can't handle. Bernard, I'm with you, it is a crazy thing, but that's just football. Burnley's margins are so tight that maybe they can't refuse the Tarkowski money. I don't know, but whatever. Final thoughts, Bernard?
Yeah, I mean, obviously on Burnley, you can't really use what they've done in the past for this season because let's be honest about it, it's a bit weird this season, isn't it? So, but as I said, apart from Burnley, Watford, Newcastle, Norwich, I think Leeds are quite safe. Brentford and Palace could get dragged into it, but Vieira seems to be doing okay. But say Everton are really in amongst the dead men. And as far as we're concerned, obviously up our end, obviously, as you say, as Rich was saying there, it's given the broadcasters, it's given the Premier League a little bit to hang on to. I hate going into breaks and we've been beaten because we have to wait another couple of weeks before we can get out there and make it right. And then when we come back, it's an FA Cup game, so you can't even put it right in the Premier League. So that's annoying. But yeah, I hate it. It could have been worse yesterday. We're 9 points clear. All right, they've got a game in hand, but yeah, we've got to be positive and start another winning run. That's all we need to do. Tell you what, guys, if we get another 12 wins on the trot in the league, the title's ours, mate. So it doesn't matter, does it? So let's start one again when we come back.
Exactly. Now, that was my sentiment, though, yesterday, is the fact that everyone was talking about how Bernardo needed a break and players need a break and all the rest of it. And the last thing that every single one of those players that played for City yesterday would have wanted is an extended break. They drew yesterday. They knew they were below par. And trust me, they would have wanted to play again today to make that right. And we've not been given that opportunity. So, you know, that's life. That's the Premier League. This programme's going into hibernation for a week or two. There will be lots of upcoming content on the channel. We've got big plans for this week. So stick with us and look out for us on social media. You know by now, or at least you should know by now, to follow Martin on Twitter because that's where everything gets posted about when and where we're going live. Bernard Deneen, thank you very much, mate. I do hope that you genuinely enjoy this show because it's our
absolutely, mate.
It's our little foray into the wider world of the Premier League. I thank everyone who's watched us.
I've changed my hat on Twitter. If you noticed, so it's less confusing now. I've got rid of the Charles Deneen and it's at Bernard_Deneen now, so that makes it all a bit more. People know what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank everyone for joining us. Richard, I thank you as always, mate. I'm glad that you're back. Richard has added all this extended vacation time. I would say thank you to Martin and Cal, our other people on the stream tonight, but they abandoned us midway. But that's life. They've jumped ship. They're going to go and start a Liverpool channel by the sounds of things. We will see you again in another life.